Hi everyone, and a big welcome on this Saturday morning to this special training. Well, my name is Charlotte Venter. If you haven't met me before, then I say hi. I live on the Sunshine Coast and have been with LifeVantage for just over 2 years. Today we are so honored to have Blue Elam. He's an executive master Pro 10, or really a Pro 11, meaning that he does over $3 million a month in his business. Phenomenal, isn't it? And Blue is going to be training us some of the very basics of what you need to do to rank up in your business. I would love to just share a little bit about what Blue shared with us before about his family, and unfortunately our video didn't quite work that well, so I'm going to recap and then we're going to go straight into Blue's training. Well, Blue and his beautiful wife Raylene have 6 children, and about a year ago Blue and his family were in a really tough car accident, and both his teenage daughters are paralyzed and are in wheelchairs. His one daughter is undergoing radiotherapy for cancer, and his wife, Raylene, really badly damaged her ankle in this car accident, and she's had about 9 or 10 operations fusing the ankle back together, and she's just had another one recently, so I think she's off her feet for the next 6 weeks. So we only share that to share with you that it hasn't just been all sunshine and roses for the Elam family. They've had many challenges. But Blue shared with us just how incredible it has been to be part of a network marketing family. You know, families look after one another, and that's exactly what the people in LifeVantage have done. They've rallied around Blue and his family. You know, they've done stuff like carry and fetch and bring meals and love and support, and, you know, just do all those little things that make people feel special. But also, you know, and I suppose equally as important, the Elam family have had massive provision for their medical expenses, for things such as a new car, because now they have wheelchairs, you know, a house had to be renovated, all those things. And Blue has very openly admitted that if it wasn't for the LifeVantage family, it would have been a very different picture for them. He also often mentions that his daughter insists on him continuing to work because she says her dad, other people need to experience what we are experiencing as a family. So they are all very grateful for this industry, very grateful for all of us and for LifeVantage. And, you know, Blue cannot recommend it highly enough that you build a business with this company, because you just never know what lies around the corner. So guys, that's enough from me. I'm going to hand you over to Blue Elam. Enjoy this training. It's absolutely phenomenal. Thank you.
How to go about building that kind of business, because I think there's ways of building maybe even quick, or maybe even, you know, there might be ways of building what I would consider a flash in the pan, or to build something that's quicker but less stable. Even how you place people and how you structure your business can have 2 different benefits. One might be a little more around the idea of you know, stacking volume and getting ranks and getting things going, and one might be around this long-term wealth and building wider and balancing that message. So there's a lot of things. We won't be able to get to them all today, but I will definitely love to share some thoughts and hopefully help you maybe get out of the you know, where you're at. If you're at a plateau, I think our business grows and it plateaus a little bit, and we learn, we grow, we become better, and then we take another jump, and then we plateau a little bit, and then we have to figure something else out. And I've kind of, over the last about 12 years actually, because I've been in the industry just a little bit before LifeVantage. I was in the industry for a couple of years, and I found where those plateaus seem to be. And if I just threw out a quick rank, I would say it's you know, you got the rank 3, you got 5, you got 7. You got those major ranks where income kind of changes, and then you have skill levels that need to change because of the size of your business. If you don't adapt new skills and grow personally, then we kind of get stuck on the same plateau for a long time. Sometimes it's us waiting to grow. Sometimes I think we can kind of push it off to a country or a problem at corporate, or I think sometimes people try to do that too much when the reality is that the guy next to him is growing like crazy. And Charlotte was a great example of that. Getting involved in Australia, we had teams in Australia with a list of concerns or problems, or there's these websites and all these little things that are making it so we can't do the business. And I just laughed because Charlotte was turned around and I think hit Pro 6 in like 4 months. And you guys were a big part of that. All of you on this call obviously was a piece of that. And Charlotte was very clear at making sure that that was shared that way. But I just thought it was amazing when people aren't looking to the sides and they have those blinders on and they're just focused at an end result. There's very little that gets in our way. And so I've learned over time that it's less and less and less about those things, or what's the next incentive, or what's our next product, or what do we have versus what are we doing with what we do have. Because when we built this whole thing, we got to the ranks we're talking about early on, with just Pro Tandem and a ABC primetime video. I mean, we didn't have anything else. We had a couple studies, and we had a lot of heart, a lot of dedication, and we wanted to capture timing. And so we went out with this mindset that was just super focused. And so I just wanted to kind of put that as a starting point, is let's get rid of because we could go down a lot of different roads and try to fix things. But one of my favorite quotes in this business is to lift where you stand, right? Figure out what your role is in your business, in your team, right? Even in LifeVantage, what is your role? And if you can lift that piece of the weight of our load, if you can do your job and do it really well, watch what happens to the entire company. When each of us does our part to the best of our ability and not so much worried about the other, it changes everything. I've seen so many people. I saw one guy spend 6 months worrying about a product that he wanted to come out that would change the company, and never did build a business, never did end up anywhere. Because I just kind of said, well, you're kind of doing corporate's job, and the longer you do that, the less you're going to have a business, because you're not doing, in my opinion, what's your role in the company. And I looked at that. The brand new person has a specific roles. I think, the premier ranks, and then you get into the elite ranks. The elites have a role. They have a leadership role that's a little bit different than the brand new distributor that's just putting people in a room, right? It's just a different mentality. And then you get to the Pro 10 ranks or the master ranks, and we get asked to train the elites, right? Or we get asked to do different types of communication with corporate, with the leaders there, the C staff, right? The chief executives, and the advice that they give us and we give them, and the communication is very different than that takes place with a Pro 1 or Pro 2 or Pro 3, right? So bottom line, I'm just saying that there are different pieces of the puzzle. I'm going to share something. Charlotte, you have the screen share enabled too, right? So I can share something?
Yes, Lou.
Okay, let me just pull this up real quick and see if this makes a little bit of sense. Give me 1 second. I'm going to make sure I grab the right screen here. So I'm gonna show you what I think this duplication model looks like. Did that come up okay, Charlotte?
Yep, it's good. Thank you.
So this is just a way we've been teaching this literally since we started. And Charlotte and I had some great conversations early on. I got to spend 10 days with the entire Australian team, different times, but Charlotte was kind enough to literally travel with us to every one of those stops, and Geraldo was there, and we had a good time. And probably when we first kind of met and hit it off, as far as understanding our roles as distributors and working together as leaders in the business, got to really know Charlotte's heart and her willingness to help, no matter who you are or where you are. Fit very, very close to what we believe in, the culture in the company. She was duplicating perfectly, which is one thing that attracts me to people, is when I see them have the same desires and same culture that we try to maintain. It makes it fun. It makes it fun to work with someone. And I don't care whose team or what they call their team. It's amazing to have Team LifeVantage, and we just run and help. And that's one reason why Charlotte's able to get so many people to help, is she's willing to do the same. And I point Charlotte out because I don't know who's all on the call, and I have a great relationship with her, but I'm sure there's many of you that emulate that same behavior that's been duplicated. But let me just point something out. There's 3 ways or 3 things that we've been we've been doing, and it got turned into this idea of learn, do, teach. We actually started sharing this down in Mexico, building houses, which is kind of unique because it was my way of still educating the distributors and training them for their business while we're building houses, right? Learn how to lay block for a couple hours, and then find somebody who doesn't know how to do it and go teach them how to do it. Okay, so we have people that are down there an hour or two into this deal, and they're showing, hey, come over here. And it's fun when you have the 12-year-old teaching the 45-year-old how to lay a block for the house, right? Because age doesn't matter, right? It's not a rank thing. It's not an age thing. It's a skill thing, right? I know how to do it. I was taught. I've been doing it long enough that now I understand. I want to teach it to you. And that model, if you will adapt it with all aspects of your business, you will be able to continue to progress. While we're learning, I think there's a part of that where someone else is doing a lot for us, okay? The reality is we're learning, right? We would almost rather us do the meetings at first for someone who's brand new. I don't like just to enroll somebody and hand them, the pass the baton, so to speak, and let them take off. Because if you do that too many times, you're going to dilute a message because they're not quite ready to share it at the level that they should be, or they're not being quite compliant, or there's little pieces of the message that get lost or told incorrectly. And without having a learning period and letting somebody else do it with you or even for you for a little while, I think we start to lose and dilute the message a little bit. So the first role that I think should take place is it's a mentality of, let me see if this pops up right, of believing, building belief, learning, understanding our culture, believing in our culture, believing in the industry, understanding how the comp plan works, how placement works, how our products worked, right? How the leadership and duplication work. Learn that. Come to every presentation you can and take notes. The difference is you have people sitting in the room learning, and they think they're learning and they're just watching, and you have others that are frantically taking notes because they know that within a few weeks or a few months, they're going to be the ones doing that meeting. They're going to be the ones in front of the room doing the presentation. And so they treat their business that way. And so I think the do portion, we call a build portion, right? When we did our Be Free tour, it was around the B words, right? Believe, build, and then the last one we have is become. Okay, they fit within the same phases that we've been teaching. I teach them in 3 phases of business. When I was out in Australia, we taught phase 1 was to invite and enroll. Okay, and to me, that's learning and believing, right? You invite people, you sit in the room with your guest, someone else is in build mode, they're in do mode, they're in presentation mode, and they're doing the presentation in front of you. In a perfect world, right? And I don't care, you guys, I'm not the person who cares how you do that. I'm not the big social media guy, but by all means, I respect it and love it and embrace the fact that a lot of people on my team are, right? I think it would be naive for me to say that I got to Pro 10 without it, right? Because there's so many people on our team who've learned to use social media correctly, or even technology, right? Let's take it down a step and just say, the ability to do this today without getting on an airplane and flying to see you guys. It's not as good as I like it. I mean, we're not shaking hands and giving each other hugs and saying hi and talking about stuff, but we are absolutely sharing and educating each other and learning together. So there's benefits to technology. I just think that we need to be very, very careful with when we have a chance to meet face to face and shake hands and jump in a living room and talk to our friends or a coffee shop, then by all means, I would rather that be the first option. This would be the second option. Third would be something that's recorded or a video you send to somebody or something else. And my only problem sometimes in the social media world, the third option gets to be the main option, right? Just send a video, which is fine. There's still communication going on, but it seems to be in the world of success or the world of friendships and building long-term relationships, it's kind of the tail end of that, right? Now, hopefully that may spark something to lead back to the other ones. And when you do a great job, and even when Charlotte was with us, she flew around the country with us to meet you guys face to face, shake hands, and do it the way I think it should be done. But the way we gather is up to you. Somebody has a great way of gathering. Gathering isn't the issue. It's what do we do after we gather them in, right? What do we do after someone enrolls? whether they come in from a video we sent somebody, or they're in our living room, or we met them at a coffee shop, or we got them on a Zoom call. Doesn't really matter. Now they're in, what do we do? Our job is to teach them to learn. Teach them, while we're the doers, teach them to put people in the room. We call this, what we called it for a long time was the phase one, right? And when I say phases, guys, I don't mean you do it for a while, then you finish the phase and you check it off, right? It's not that. It's more of a set of skills that you gain over a period of time. So let's say these set of skills that you gain are, I can write down my why. I know how to do a database. I know how to call my support team. I know how to invite, and someone else can do the presentation, but then I know how to follow up, and I know how to close. Okay, those are all part of phase one, in my opinion. It's a lot, but phase one is the art of just bringing people, putting them in the room, letting them listen, helping them to sign up and start their business, and then they are now in phase one, right? They're learners now.
Blue, can I interrupt and ask you to go through that list again, please?
I sure will.
Thank you.
I did have a slide that pointed out a little better, but I'll leave it here and just kind of show. So in phase one, it's really the blueprint. Think of the steps in the blueprint, the cycle. Okay. The first one is the, that getting started checklist, which involves your why. I call it your what. Why are you doing this? What are you willing to do? Make your phone calls and introduce yourself to your support team. I don't like the words upline and downline as much. You guys will find that with me. I don't think it's here's my downline or here's my upline. I love to say here's my business partner or here's my mentor, right? I think there's just more power and unity in those type of phrases, but that's just my own little pet peeve that you'll hear. Once you introduce yourself to your team, there's a database. You have to figure out a way to do that. Do I care if it's on your phone or on an app or on a piece of paper? I really don't. It's the fact that you need to do it. Too many people make a list of names of about 20 or 30. They start building their business and they wonder why they run out of names so quick. Is because they start to get gun shy to put people on the list. What I learned to do is stop people from making those decisions and just put everyone on the list. Even let it grow, let it mature. One thing that Charlotte and I talked about was ways to continue to add to that list daily, right? It might be just learning to be friends, learning to grow personally, learning to approach somebody and say, hey, how are you doing, without having some agenda. Sometimes we have such an agenda that we come across stale because they can feel that we're just asking them what their day is like so that we can ask them to join our business, right? If we can truly just ask somebody to ask, develop friendships along the way, you're going to find their pain. You're going to find, because you know them, you're going to find the need. You're going to find where they need help. And we have a lot of solutions, you guys, with LifeVantage. When we can solve health issues and we can solve financial problems, those two things fit 95% probably of what they're dealing with. That's probably the two things that, you can add some relationships and things in there, but health and finances are two things that are a big portion of what the problem is. So the why, the what, the phone calls, the database, and then there's an invite, right? Part of phase one, you have to learn to go to somebody and say, can I please show you what I'm doing? My favorite invite, you guys, people always say, what's your invite, right? Everyone wants to know the Pro 10 invite. And I think it's funny because I've never used the same one probably twice. And it's just the reality of people, right? I look at my friend and I talk to them. I find their pain and we fix it. I had one lady that put me on a call. She says, I'm having a heck of a time inviting. Can you help me? I said, sure. I got on a call with her and she said, it's my neighbor. And I just hit mute just so I could listen in. And sure enough, she gets on the phone and you hear, and she, picture this, you guys, she's a stay-at-home mom with like 3 kids. The person she called is a neighbor a few houses down. Same thing, staying at home with a few kids. And she starts her invite with, hey, I don't remember her friend's name, but she said, hey, Jane, I just made a major career change, and I'm able to bring some of my closest associates on board. And then she said the word pause because she was reading the script verbatim. She said the word pause. Oops. And then she kept going and, oh, well, I want to get you some information. Is today or tomorrow better? Right. And she finished the call. I almost unmuted just to save her because I felt so bad for what she was going through. But the reality was, after she stopped the script and just started, hey, I'm sorry, I'm trying this new thing. And she just started talking. Then it was magic. It was amazing. She knew the lady very well. They both wanted the same things. They both wanted some extra money, some extra time. They wanted to work together. But using the concept of a major career change when she's a stay-at-home mom, she was like, the lady was like, are you okay? You know, you sound, something's wrong, right? You know, you made a major career change. What's going on? You never had a career. What are you talking about? So part of the invite is just learning to read all the scripts, get all the training you can, shut the book, right? Put it down and call your friend and be a friend. Know that we have a good product, know that we're publicly traded, know that we have a great comp plan, know things that you can share, but just be aware that you can go ahead and approach them for who they are. And in the invite process, keep in mind that the flow of information kind of should go the way it normally goes. When you go to your doctor, you usually get information from your doctor, right? So if you're at your doctor's office telling them all about something, you usually get a kind of a cold shoulder a little bit, because that's not the way the information normally flows. Or some of your friends come to you for an information, great person to talk to. And you probably need less third party on someone who is already wanting your advice. It's the ones that we look up to or we get advice from most of the time. Those are the ones that are typically a little bit harder to just share ourselves with, right? Just to share and teach them all about what we're doing. But there's a few, and there always is a few that we can just do that with. There's a few that would almost be weird if we put them on the call with someone else, right? Because they're just so close that they're going to say, hey, what do you got going? I'm listening. I respect you. And they're all ears. So keep that in mind. I'm going to show you this in a minute. This is called the circle of influence. We have some people that are close enough within our circle of influence that we can talk to them. And there's some people just outside that circle where we need someone else to talk to them. Okay, and I'll kind of go through that. But the invite needs to be there. It's still part of this learn and believe concept. We invite. It's the only doing part of phase one, right? Because you are out physically, doing work, but it's in the concept of, I'm hoping not to teach them a whole bunch or to do an entire presentation to that. It's a very few people that we could probably do that with. What we want to do is say, can I have an hour of your time? My favorite invite was just asking for their time. And my good friends would say, yeah, you can have an hour of my time. What do you need? I really want to show you something. I'm looking for some business partners. I got something amazing coming up. I'm looking for 10 people that we're going to go help a lot of people, and we're probably going to make a lot of money together as well. But we're going to go help a ton of people. I'm looking for some business partners, but it's going to take me an hour to show you what I'm doing. And if they say, what is it? Then all they did to me is just say, yeah, give me your hour. Because I just told them it was going to take an hour. So when they say, what is it? I'm like, great, have a seat, I'll show you. Well, I don't have time right now. Well, that's why I want to invite you over Thursday night, because Thursday night, give me an hour, I'll show you what we're doing. You guys, we use that idea of just asking for someone's time most of the time. That's what worked the best with me. And part of the reason is our family is very service oriented. We go out and help people. And one guy, for an example, said, an hour of your time, what are you doing? I said, dude, I just helped you move a piano yesterday. It took me 3 hours. I said, I'm asking for an hour. We're friends, right? Yeah, you're right. And it's not too hard to ask for someone's time a little bit. I mean, committing them right on the spot to join something and all that, that's what gets people nervous. But an hour of their time in a low pressure situation to learn about what you're doing, very, very doable. So keep that in mind. I mean, obviously, if we were just talking about inviting, we can get a little deeper into that, but that's kind of the simple concept. And then someone else is hopefully there to do the presentation, whether that's at the house, whether it's on a Zoom, whether it's, Facebook Live or whatever that might look like. Hopefully there's a way that they can get the information from someone who can be the guru. Even if this person is involved for 1 or 2 weeks, they become the guru sometimes, right? Because our good friends don't always look to us as the health nut, right? Or the business owner, right? You come from a paramedic background and tell them, hey, I'm starting a business. Dude, my friends will risk their lives together running into burning buildings and saving people, but they're not going to follow you into a business just because you thought of doing one day, right? That's not how it works. But someone else, now they'll come listen because of the friendship. They'll come put themselves in a room. They'll come to the hotel. They'll get on the phone call. I've seen that happen a lot, and not everyone does, but your good friends will. And if someone else is there doing the second phase being presenting and teaching. Okay, I know teach says on this third one, but I'll show you the difference. What I mean by it is doing presentations. The second phase is physically sharing the 6 principles over and over and over and over again, right? That's the behavior. Once we master that, then the other person in phase one needs to go back and do the follow-up, and they need to, help close, answer questions, and help them enroll. As a presenter, if I need the volume, I'm going to go help do those things. If I'm looking, you're on my team, you're brand new, you brought 3 guests to a meeting, I might help with that follow-up. I might help answer those questions, and I might help that person enroll people, especially because in the blueprint, we talk about this 100, 50, 50, 100 mentality, right? We'll do 100% at first. We'll do it with you for a while, and then eventually you're out on your own doing it 100%, and we become mentors and people that you can bounce things off of in the future. But during that 100% portion to start with, we may be doing the follow-ups. I have people that I'll say, hey, I'll follow up with that person. I hit it off with them. I know they're a firefighter. We relate with each other. Let me call them tomorrow, right? So follow up, and then we finally enroll them. In phase one, once we get to the enrollment, that person should step into phase one. They are now the person doing their database. They're now the person doing the invites to their house or wherever that next meeting is, getting them on the calls, getting them on the Zoom. I hope by then you're the person who's able to start participating in doing the presentations, okay? That is the number one place people get stuck. And I'm gonna repeat this because I believe just inviting and enrolling can get you to Pro 3, very consistently to Pro 3. I've seen people enroll enough customers, they've done enough invites, they've enrolled enough people, they get themselves to Pro 2, Pro 3, sometimes even Pro 4. And there's the anomalies out there that are Pro 5s and 6s and whatever. But to teach you the standard, you're going to find that Pro 3s are good at inviting and enrolling, okay? Now, that's the first hurdle. If you're a Pro 3 and you've been there a while, ask yourself a couple things. Are you able and are you doing 15 presentations a month? Most of the time, they're like, well, no, not really. I'm not willing to. I'm too scared to. I don't know how to. No one has taught me to do it, which is someone in phase 3 mentoring you to become the presenter. Whatever the reason, I have found that Pro 3s who get stuck at Pro 3 are typically unwilling or they don't go do 15 presentations a month. If you want to know if that's happening for yourself, open your calendar and circle how many presentations you did last month, right? Just as a test. And typically when I'm sitting down with you, we'll do this and people say, well, I'm willing, but I only did 5, right? Or they're all one-on-ones. And when I say a presentation, I'm typically talking about a group of people in a room with about 3 to 5 guests in the room. That's what we counted early on as a presentation. The one-on-ones and the coffee shops and all that, those were just bonuses. Those weren't even in our group. They weren't presentations, right? That we would count as one of our 15. So every other night we were somewhere doing I say home meeting because that was the environment that we used, but you can use whatever environment that looks like and make sure that there's just a group there that you're talking to. And here's why. If you do one-on-ones every day, that's awesome. There's still a limitation to your time. There's still a limitation to how much time you put in and how much you're getting out of that. If there's 5 people in a room and you spend the same hour talking to 5 people, you're going to build your business faster, right? Now, that's the dream of, well, I can barely get 1. That's what I'm going to do. That's fine. I'm just telling you what we did is we made sure there was 3 to 5 in the room, taught people how to do it, and we grew a lot faster that way. We launched our business 90 days into it as a Pro 7, okay? So that behavior worked. It was crazy. We didn't sleep much, and we did a lot of presentations, way more than 15, but the 15 we're talking about were in someone's living room with 5 guests in the room. We're up there, we show a video, we have us as a third party. We're the doers, right? The presenters, so that the rest of the people in the room can invite. Same thing I told when I came out to Australia, when I told Charlotte, all the leaders, I said, when I'm coming to town and I'm going to do the presentation, by all means, put on your invite hat because we're coming. Let us be the phase 2. You be phase 1 for this week. Go invite the world because you're not presenting, and there's going to be some people that are going to want to hear from someone else. Do that this week, right? Let someone else be the presenter. So those are kind of the first 2. Now, in that presentation, all I want to do is make sure that I cover those 6 principles. Sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's 45, sometimes it's, I try to avoid anything between, 5 minutes to what I call the 25 or 30-minute mark. I believe an invite is 30 seconds and a presentation is 30 minutes. I have a really hard time when people start a standard presentation at 15 or 10 minutes long. I don't think there's enough information that we can help them join, help them see enough to actually say, this is what I'm looking for. Every now and then we'll find someone who says, man, that sounds interesting, give me some more. And then we give them a full presentation. But I can just tell you that I focused from day one. If I was inviting, I put my invite hat on and I said, hey, 30 seconds, can I have an hour of your time, my house, Thursday night, 6 o'clock, whatever that was. And that was it, right? There wasn't a talk about how much it cost or what it was or all these details. Unless they said, what is it? I would switch hats and I would expect 30 minutes and I would go into it. And that was okay. But I wanted them to know, well, give me 30 minutes then, because I don't want you to hear half of it and try to make a decision. I want you to hear about the product. I want you to hear about the company. I want you to hear about the trends, the timing, the compensation, and the system. If I can cover all of those 6 things, you can make a pretty good educated decision. And I feel okay when people hear all of those things and they still say no. I'm okay with them saying no if they heard those things. I had a little hard time when somebody watches a quick video for 5 minutes or 4 minutes or 30 seconds and they say, I'm not interested. And the only thing in that video was product, or the only thing in that video was timing or some concept around business. I just wanted them to make sure they were making a decision based off enough information. So my entire point of phase 2 is to get them in a room or in a situation where they can hear 6 principles back to back to back, so that they can make a decision that's based on a better statistic, right? Based on more information than less. And hopefully we can get them to that point. Now, sometimes I only give you 5 minutes, take it and go for it, right? There's always exceptions. I'm trying to teach you a standard that we used. There was daily exceptions around that concept, right? A 15-minute phone call because, that's all they had. Well, we'll do our best. We're going to talk about 6 things. We're going to show them what we're passionate about. Hopefully it sparks an interest. They're going to want to know some more. But here's the biggest problem. People get stuck with phase 1 and they say, I invited 15 people and no one showed up, or I have a hard time with home meetings because I can't get people to come. Talk to those people pretty directly. What you're going to find out is they're probably doing about a 10-minute invite with a whole bunch of facts, and a bunch of people say, I'm going to try to make it. And then they choose not to. They're basically saying no because they think they have enough information to make a decision about your business when you thought you were just inviting them. And because it's enough information that they can make that decision, we fall short of giving them enough. And they start to expect or think that, hey, I already heard about it, or it's one of those things, or I already know about that product. Or I had somebody after a few minutes, they say, I watched those videos. I don't drink juices. No thanks, right? I mean, they're in left field. We didn't have a juice we were offering, but that's what they thought it was, and they made an assumption. And this is when we just had Protandim. They said no because of a juice issue, and we didn't even have a juice, right? There was this people, their minds were just so, they're only hearing a couple little things. So my focus with the invite is to put them in the room with an invitation, not a presentation. If you're presenting, give them enough that they can make a decision. Okay, give them the 6 principles the best you can. And if you're still learning, get someone to work with you. Do half of it and let someone else do half of it, because there are people in phase 3, which is the teach and become phase, the mentoring phase. When I look at this, I have the invite and enroll, the teach and present, and the mentoring and training phase. Phase 3 to me is learning to mentor and train others. I fully believe that if you don't do that, you can make it to a 5, maybe even a 6, but I haven't seen very many people in the elite ranks without becoming a mentor, without becoming someone who can teach these principles. So let me just give you 3 questions to go with those phases. Phase 1, how many leaders have you enrolled? Okay, now this is for you individually. And then as you start to think about sharing this with your team, think about asking all the people that you signed up, how many leaders have you enrolled? It's not just people, right? And I wouldn't put customers on the list because they're not duplicating. It's a great habit and it's great to have, and there's volume, but what we're looking for is duplication, and that won't come through customers. So what I'm asking for is how many leaders have you signed up? And if it's 5 or 6 or 10, then man, that's not a checkbox, but you've at least mastered that skill. Okay. You know how to enroll somebody. You can put that hat on anytime and do it again. Okay. I believe that. If it's 1 or 2, or I've enrolled 10, but I only got 1 leader, that's typically the story. And you're going to find that those people are typically Pro 2s and Pro 3s. Okay. If somebody answers that question pretty boldly, oh, I enrolled 20 people. They're doing pretty well. I got a few leaders out of it. They're probably Pro 4s and 5s, right? You're going to start to watch how the answers come out. The second question I'm going to ask for phase 2 is, how many presentations did you do last month personally? If it's over 15, you're probably in phase 2. You're a presenter. You're in the do mode. You're the build mode, right? You're doing fine. And that behavior over time will present the Pro 4, the Pro 5, possibly even a Pro 6 volume and income. Now, the third phase, what do you think that you should ask to know if somebody is mentoring other people or teaching others to teach, right? The question I ask is, how many people on your team are doing 15 presentations a month on their own? Okay, one of the most valuable questions you're ever going to think about in your business. How many people do I have on my personal team that are doing their own 15 presentations a month? Because I don't think elites get to the elite rank without having 5 to 10 people doing that on their team. I just haven't seen that. I haven't seen someone who says, I'm an elite and I'm the only person on my team doing presentations. It just does. There's not enough exposures to do that. To increase your exposure rate, you have to teach others how to present. If you'll do that, and your answer is, I got 10 people on my team that are doing presentations every month, I guarantee that you're probably sitting in the elite ranks, or you'll be there very soon if that's a behavior you've been able to duplicate. So here's the 2 places people get stuck. I'm good at inviting, but I don't want to present, right? That's typically a line in the sand where people will hit to Pro rank 2 or 3, but they'll get stuck. The next place, somebody said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and start presenting. Can somebody mentor me? Look to your support team, find somebody who will come and do those meetings with you. They'll get on the Zooms with you, but they won't do it for you, right? Let them let you try. Let them let you fail. Let you make a mistake or 2. And by all means, as a mentor, take them to lunch afterwards, call them on the phone, say, great job on these 2 parts, but you got to fix the other 8. Let's help you, right? It's okay. Learn to do it out of love. And if you're doing it out of the right, they're going to accept that. And they're going to say, thank you. Thanks for showing me. Thanks for helping me. And you will grow as a mentor if you do that. And the person you're teaching will grow because their ability or willingness to do presentations on their own will increase. So that's where people get stuck. Now, the next people that get stuck is, I'll do all the presentations, but it's hard for me to let someone else do them. Do you guys remember Gabe Pearson, right? His story, hit Pro 5 in 30 days. After 8 months, was still Pro 5. He actually waited in line. Him and I talked together at an elite academy. He asked for my opinion, and I asked those 3 questions. Number 1, how many leaders have you enrolled? Right? And it was a lot, you guys. For him to hit Pro 5 in 30 days, he enrolled a lot of people. It was close to 20 personals, and he did it overnight almost. It was awesome. He had a lot of good stories, a lot of leadership. It was great. Second question I asked, how many presentations? I think for him, I said, how many days did you do presentations last month? And his answer was all of them. That was his answer. He was crazy. I mean, the guy was doing 25, 30 presentations in homes, in living rooms, in coffee shops every single month, right? No wonder he hit Pro 5 in 30 days, because that's a Pro 5 behavior, right? Third question is, what's the Pro 7 behavior? How many people on your team are doing presentations every month? He said, you guys know Gabe, it was actually funny. He said, why? Have you seen my presentations? They're pretty good, man. I mean, it's like he was wanting to make sure that the reason I was asking wasn't to say that he wasn't doing a good job and we need to get someone else doing it. He wanted to make sure I knew it was good. And I wasn't asking for that reason. I was asking because I wanted him to know that even 30 presentations a month is not enough exposures to get to those elite ranks. You have to train other people on your team, allow them to take the baton, take ownership. Now, what if you have 10 people doing presentations every month and you're 15? Now you got 150, 165 presentations a month. happening, then there's enough exposures that you'll get to Pro 6 and Pro 7 and beyond. So think about that for a minute. It's a simple concept. It's super simple. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Where are you? How many of you enrolled? How many presentations do you do? How many on your team are doing presentations? But ask yourself that. And I have a feeling you're going to say, oh, wow. And I've even done this with incomes. I show people that if you're in phase 1, you're making hundreds of dollars a month. If you get yourself to phase 2, you'll be making thousands. If you'll learn to do those presentations consistently, which means you have to teach those in phase 1 well enough that they'll put people in the room. You can't just show up to empty houses or empty rooms every night and expect your business to grow. You have to do the presentation, which means you have enough people on your team who know how to do the invite. That's the power of that concept. And then mentoring, do you have enough people on your team presenting, which only happens if you have enough people on their team inviting. Okay, so that's how the trickle-down effect happens. And all we do is just move around the wheel, you guys. There's even a 4th phase. I'll just mention it because I don't think you get to Pro 10 in the master phases just by having a bunch of people on your team present. I think you have to be a mentor to the mentors, right? You train the trainers, you mentor the mentors. That phase 4, which we don't spend a ton of time on because not a lot of people are in that circle. But when you get to the elite ranks, we want to have a conversation with you about what it means to mentor the mentors. Because to get from Pro 7 to 8, 9, and 10, there's more that you need to learn, okay? And you don't check the box saying, I've already enrolled, I've already presented, I've already mentored, now what? I'm waiting for Pro 10 to come. It doesn't work that way, right? It's not that we check it off saying we already did it. It's saying we own it. We can enroll anytime we're asked. We can go do presentations anytime. Okay, and if I'm in a room of people, I would ask them. Right now, if I got sick and I needed someone to come do a presentation and there's 30 guests in the room, right? Who feels comfortable doing that? And the hands that go up are typically the Pro 4s, the Pro 5s, Pro 6s, because they can do those presentations. I say something like this training. If something happens and I can't make it, who can jump on a call and take an hour of their time and train and give some value to some training? People in phase 3. It's typically the Pro 6s and the Pro 7s and the Pro 8s who can jump on and give training. At least their training is going to be here's what I did, not here's what I'm going to do, right? That's another reason that one fits. We like that. Hey, here, show what you did. We don't want a Pro 1 just saying, here's what I plan on doing and I hope it works, training a bunch of people. We would rather say, here's what I did, here's the exact results I got, and I hope you get the same results. Let's work together, right? So that's where that phase 3 comes in, is being able to mentor groups of people. So it sounds pretty simple. I just want you guys to think about that for a little bit. Picture what income you're at, because I think hundreds come if you're in phase 1, thousands comes if you're in phase 2. And I think if you are in a mentoring phase long enough and you have enough people on your team, that's where we get into the tens of thousands. That's where we get into the elite ranks and tens of thousands. And the phase 4, you guys, is hundreds of thousands a month, right? And that's what we taught for a long time. We taught 100,000, 10,000, 100,000 around those areas monthly. And then we had the income statement form came out. And guess what it validated? Phase 1 is 500 as a Pro 3. Phase 2 is 2,500 as a Pro 5. You got 11,000 a month as a Pro 10, right? I mean, it's Pro 7, excuse me, in phase 3. And then the 4th phase, we just went over 6 figures in the master ranks for learning how to mentor mentors. So what we taught for 8 years before even having that lined up perfectly with what we have now as a validated income statement form. So take your skills that you're willing to figure out or admit that you have or don't have, see which phase they're in. Take your income that you're making every month. I bet it lines up similar to what you're doing. And then ask yourself some of those questions. And once you ask yourself, ask your team those 3 questions and see where they are. And you'll find some amazing things start to happen. So those are the 2 biggest places people get stuck, is the transition between those. And I think that will be a big help if you learn to do that. So let me take one more thought here. I'm going to come off this just for a second. Okay, I got one of my favorite quotes I'll finish up with here. I think this has been fun. This quote was one of my favorite, that most people negotiate the price of success so long that they would have been there by now if they would have just paid it. I don't know if you guys have heard that. I actually learned this in Australia. I was working with a guy, and he was an amazing mentor, had been in the industry a lot, and I was trying to answer this long-winded answer. I had this long answer about, well, there's a temporary imbalance for a long-term balance, and if I finally got to this. He just said, let me give you a quote that may help, and I've been using it ever since, because there are a lot of people that negotiate what that price of success looks like. They negotiate a long time. They negotiate the package they buy. They negotiate what meetings they're going to come to and not come to. They say, well, I've already came to one of those, I don't need to go to another one. And they miss the boat, right? They miss the chance to understand why we do it over and over. Why do we push not to miss an event? Why do we say always do what you say you're going to do, right? Why do we teach some of these things so that people can find this price to be paid, right? Success will come when we pay the price. And I think to me, it's like, I had some friends that were surgeons, and it took them years and years and years of studying to become a good surgeon, right? And I said, what if you told me, right, your patient, that, hey, I want to be a surgeon, but I only want to go to school for 1 year, right? I'm going to negotiate how long I'm going to go to school. And I have a feeling they're not going to do very many surgeries. Okay. That person says, well, I've only went to a year. I'm going to try this out. Come let me practice. I think some of that stuff's a practice anyways, right? They own a practice and they're going to go practice on you. But it's true. You can't just negotiate some of those things. There's a price to be paid. If you want to get to Pro 3, there's a price to it. You're going to have to learn to enroll and invite and bring people to presentations and let them see what we're doing. If you want to get to Pro 5, stop negotiating, right? I'll say that as straightforward and respectful as I can. Let's not negotiate what we can and can't do. Just go fill out your calendar, 15 presentations a month, and make it happen, and don't sleep until it's done, right? We even have tear-off pages that we use now because there's 15 in a pack. You make sure you go through all 15 before you close that pack, right? And then the last one is when you start looking into the negotiating, being a mentor or trainer. How long am I going to do this for? How many people I'm training? Can I just do the presentation? We got 4 guests. I don't want someone else to mess it up. That's the best time to put someone else up there in front of the room, let them do their best, take them to dinner afterwards and correct a few things, but watch their confidence soar when you start to put them in those situations. So just kind of a fun way to look at this. But Charlotte, let me turn it back to you. I have a bunch of stuff here that maybe we can do over time, talking about it together. But if you guys want to throw some questions for the last little bit here, I would love to help in and to hop in and answer some of those.
Oh my gosh, Blue, that's been amazing. It is such a good reminder, just the different actions that you got to take at the different phases. And I love that it is simple, but it is really powerful. So thank you so much. I made a big note here for myself, guys, and I think in Australia, our focus for the next month is Mark Gordon. Mark is coming at the end of this month, guys. In about 3 weeks' time, Mark is going to be in 6 different cities, starting Rockhampton, Sunshine Coast, Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, and Perth. That covers almost the whole of Australia for where we're active. And really, everyone should be in phase 1 for the next 3 weeks, inviting people, getting them in front of Mark, right? So let that be the major focus, guys, in your business for the next 3 weeks. So guys, let me open it up to questions. Blue, I would love to have you on here more. Oh my gosh, you just bring such wisdom, and I just love the stuff that you train. I could sit and listen to you for hours. So I would love to have you on here again. I'm definitely going to ask now that you've said it's okay. Thank you. So guys, anybody got a question for Blue? Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Nobody?
No, but I do want to say thank you, Blue. Just appreciate, my gosh, you always bring such little nuggets, and I just add to them all the time. And I feel like I've gone back to phase one. I've really put myself in that place because I knew I needed to just get back and kind of hit restart, you know. So I just appreciate you sharing and yeah, just love your heart and who you are. So thank you so much. Just
real quick,
appreciate it.
thank you so much. I will say that there is such a value going into phase one and putting 10 more people in your business, because you will do a better job that second time around. You'll do a better job mentoring them.
Thank
You'll
you.
do a better job at finding out their why. You'll do a better job at helping them figure out their why and accomplish that. You'll do a better job placing them people in your group, and you'll put them in a weaker leg so you can balance, and you learn as you go. And even if we can teach and train, there's only so much that we can do before you say, I'm going to do it on my own and figure it out. And when you come back around and do that again, we've been into 3 major enrollment phases, right? And I don't mean like I checked it off, we're done. I'm just saying, hey, I have time. I'm going to enroll 10 more people. And my friends loved it when I said, hey, I have 10 more openings in my business for this year. Do you want one of them? Yeah. And we had already hit some rank and made some money, and people are like, yeah, I would love one of those spots. I would love you to mentor me over the next couple of years. And so I'm not constantly, and I'm not the one that just constantly puts one here, one there, one there. I'll put 10 in a month and then work with them for 6 months and then put a group in and do it again. Once you master those skills, I think you can do that. So I think going back to that phase is awesome, but think about that. Think about that terminology. I'm opening up spots. I'd love to mentor 10 more people. Do you want one of those spots? And if you
beautiful. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Blue.
Takes a little backbone and a little confidence. You'll be able to do it. So
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Una, I know you wanted to ask a question, Avi.
Can you guys hear? Or is it just me?
No, I can't hear.
I don't think you're muted, Una, but I can't hear your question. Charlotte, you're muted, Charlotte.
Type it up in the chat, Una, because we can't hear you, Lovey. Susan, you can go ahead, Dar.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Blue. I don't really have a question for you, but that was just so helpful. I just really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Anybody else got a question? I know Una's busy typing. So Blue, you know this. It's essential that people understand that no matter what your rank, you never ever go out of phase one, right?
Yeah. That's exactly what I make sure people understand. Because when I first started sharing this, I think there was some people that said, "Oh, I'm not enrolling. I'm teaching right now." And I thought, well, there's one way. Let me give you the one way that I do this. It's a time management skill that may help you. If you have 20 hours allotted to LifeVantage because you work another job or whatever, and you have 20 hours that you set aside, at first, all 20 hours is phase one because that's all you're doing. You don't have a team to teach to. You're just inviting and enrolling. But I will say this, once you enroll 10 people, if you do it correctly and you're in those people's homes every week for the first 6 weeks and you're helping them build, that's going to eat up a lot of those 20 hours, right? So let's say it eats 18 of the hours up because you're in phase two. The 2 hours that are left over, you should still go and enroll some more people because there's still 2 hours open that is waiting to be filled by you going to phase two. There was a few months where I was in phase two and all the time I allotted was completely full, and the people I enrolled wanted so much of my time that I wasn't enrolling a bunch every month. It wasn't that I got out of the phase, it was just that the most important phase took all of my time. And what happens there is you do 2 things. You either get to phase 3, get them trained, get them doing presentations on their own to open back up more of your time, or you add more hours, right? What happens to most people is they're able to quit a job. I got rid of a side job. I got rid of some construction stuff. I got rid of this piddly stuff on the side, which allowed me to open it up from 40 to maybe 60 hours a week. And then I was able to put 20 more hours into the business. Some of that went towards phase 2 doing presentations, and some of it went back into enrolling more people, right? And then there's a point to where you're mentoring groups of people. Like tonight, I wouldn't take time tonight. If a friend called and said, I want to hear about LifeVantage, I would say, I have something that's a little more important because I've committed to go and talk to 70 people, right? Or we have 50 people on here now because phase 3 is the most important phase for me as a being a master pro 10, right? If people want mentorship, I think that's more important for me to give than just to go enroll another person. So I will say that you never get out of it, but the higher ranks you are, there are more important things as you train and you focus on some corporate stuff and you focus on presenting and helping groups of people, the masses, right? If I have 1 minute left though, after that's done, I'm going to go talk to someone else and enroll them because I want to keep my calendar and keep my time management full. So think about that, guys. And when you have an extra time, so I'm not in that phase, then I know something's missing, because if there's any extra time, we're putting people in until our calendars are completely full, doing what we need to be doing as a phase 2 or 3. So hope that makes sense, but that's the way I teach people how to manage that.
That's fantastic. I've never heard that, and that's really, really good. Thank you, Blue. I'm going to use that as well. So Una's just asking, do you focus on certain professionals, Blue? Who do you find stays in the business the longest? Is it the mums working from home? Is it health professionals? What is your experience?
Well, here, let me give you a 2-minute story because it'll help answer this. I had a lot of people call me and say, hey, Blue, you're a firefighter, and I live next to a fire station. So what do I say? I'm going to go knock on the door. What do I say? Right? And I'm like, well, I love the ambition and I love that cold contact mentality, but I don't do a lot of cold contacting. I'll just be honest with you. I'll either meet somebody, make them a warm contact, and then talk to them, or I'll go through my database so consistently that we're talking to people that are friends, right? There's this cold contact weird feeling when you just go up to somebody and they feel you have an agenda, and there's a few things. So some people are great at it. I just haven't been. So my answer is, to that lady who called on the phone about the fire station, my answer was very simple. I said, don't go knock on the door. I said, I've been a firefighter. I know what they're going to do when you leave. I know what they're going to say. I know what they're going to laugh at. They're going to make fun of you. I said, it's just the way we deal with stuff, right? I said, but here's the thing. You can get into the fire station, but do it the right way. Use your circle of influence. Use your database and the people that you know. So is that a certain group? It might be. Some of you might have a connection into healthcare professionals. Some of you might have a connection into the firehouse. Some of you might have connections with people that are, that do spas and they have facials. And we have some great people out in California that have these great connections. And I just don't go looking for anything special. I look for the people that I have a relationship with. And my group, most of them are ranchers and farmers, and they've been doing awesome, right? But I can't tell you to go look for ranchers and farmers if that's not your niche, because you're going to go knocking on ranchers and farmers' doors and they're not going to connect with you. So it's less about what they do, more about who they are, what kind of ethics they have, what kind of business backgrounds maybe they have, or business skills. Are they willing to invite and enroll? Are they willing to present? Are they willing to mentor, right? They may not have those skills yet, but if they do, then they're already far along that list. That lady at the firehouse, she did that. She said, okay, here's what I'll do. I'll make a list of names. We helped her. In 4 months, she called me and said, guess what, Blue? I'm doing a meeting at the firehouse tonight. I said, how did that go? What happened? She said, I enrolled a friend of mine, and my friend, her son had just got on the fire department. He got involved with the business. He shared it with his circle, right, at the firehouse. And now I'm going into the front doors with respect and honor, and I'm doing this the right way because the person who I enrolled their son who was showing people at the fire station. So don't hold back from anything. There's always those cool stories where there's a cold call to the cardiologist that turns into something awesome. You guys get to talk to Mark Gordon coming up. You'll hear some cool stories. Just keep in mind, you guys, those are just the exceptions, right? I won't teach exceptions. I'll teach the standard. The standard is you have a circle of influence. There's people that walk in your house, open the door, open the fridge, pour a glass of milk. They go to your cookie jar. They sit down on your couch, and then you walk out and realize they're even there, right? I mean, we're talking family, maybe parents, maybe kids, maybe a neighbor, maybe a best friend. I don't know. But that's one circle. Then the next circle is people that know where you live, but they knock on the door when they come in, right? They wait for you to answer. There's another circle of people that might, they've never been to your house. They just know you from work. Okay, that's another circle. There's another circle that only knows you on Facebook or acquaintance. And just keep in mind, the farther you get away from that inner circle, then the less they know you, which might be good in some ways if you're not the guru that they that they thought of, right? Or you can talk to them about business because they think you're the business owner. But sometimes we get so far outside the circle, especially when we start doing social media and stuff, that we start really hitting hard outskirts where the percentages are really low. We spend a lot of hours talking to a lot of people and getting very little success versus coming in closer with our circle of influence. And that circle of influence has another circle, that circle has another circle. Pretty soon, like this lady, she was in the firehouse with a group of strangers, way outside of her circle of influence, but because she went through the circle of influence to get there. So hope that helps. It's not to me about, I mean, there's probably a little bit of, you know, the baby boomers we could talk about with the products. We have a lot of the technology and biohacking with the younger crowd and the millennials. I mean, we can get into some of that, but for someone who's way older, just looking for a millennial, or someone who's younger looking for a baby boomer just because they think it fits, we end up wasting a lot of time. So I would work in your circles and go from there. So hope that helps.
I agree 100%, Blue. We're going to just take two more questions, Blue. The one is, you know, this is what happens to all of us, right? Invite 30 people, they all agree to come to the presentation, 5 show up, the 25 that didn't show up, you send them the video or something and they just never watch it. How do you overcome that? Is there anything you can do to improve that result?
Let me unmute first. I'll go back. Jim Rohn talks a lot about this. You remember Jim Rohn talks about, he said, if we have a competition and we're both going to enroll 100 people, he said, I'll beat you. He said, but I just have to play the odds. I have to know that to enroll 100 people, I'm going to have to talk to 1,000 or whatever it is. He said, I'll go do it and I'll beat you. He says, but I hope that my percentages get better, right? I hope that if I learn to say certain things, or I have better answers for things, or I'm a little more, I have more posture, I have more confidence, that people will hear things a little different. So the other side to that, though, is by the time sometimes we have the confidence, we've already burned through a big part of our good database because we did it wrong a little bit, or we went out on our own and we didn't use third party correctly and all those things. So, so just in general, you guys, it is a numbers game. I'm very careful to say that because I think there's a person behind every number that needs this and wants this and would do well to have it. So I don't like to just run through the numbers, but there's a part of the reality that it just takes that discipline to say, I'm going to talk to this many people and not everyone's going to say yes, right? Let me show you one thing that may help. Let me pull one thing up because I just thought of this and it's right here. I want to, let me exit this. Okay, if I can grab this real fast. You guys might have heard this. It's called the rule of 3. I have a couple nods, couple I don't knows. Let me just show you what I think this this looks like. This to me has been really helpful in just making it real, right? And I'll just share this real fast so you understand that we have to talk to people in order to show them, right? We have to show them in order to enroll, and we need to enroll people before we find a builder. And I want to point this out because some people say, oh, I've enrolled 10, but I only have 1. Well, that's going to happen, right? I mean, not everyone that says I'm in becomes a super, extreme builder. But here's some numbers that may help you. What most people don't know is I think it's a 3-to-1 ratio in all of these situations. I think if you talk to 3, and this is on average, this is where hopefully you're at. If you're off more than this, then it might be some skills we can teach you on a one-on-one basis. If you're under this, then congratulations, we need you to help us do the teaching, right? And we can use your help because this is kind of the standard. If you talk to 3, you're going to show 1, which means you're going to have to talk to 10 to show 3 to enroll 1, okay? And what I mean by that is you're going to have to probably talk to 30 to show 10 to enroll 3 to get 1 person that's probably going to run or build or do anything. Now, this is a little scary to people, and I totally get it. And I teach this to everybody, even if they're brand new. I set those expectations correctly, hoping to not have them talk to 30 and expect 15 enrollments and then have them quit because of an incorrect expectation, right? So what if we break that down? Because you need more than one builder. This means you have to talk to 100 to even show 30, to enroll 10, to even find 3 runners or 3 builders. Okay. Now, what if we need 5? We teach, that's just to get to Pro 10 possibly, right? Or the elite ranks. We know it's going to take at least 5. We talk about having a spare tire, right? Something happens, you need an extra leg, and it makes sense. That's one thing we've done good in our business, is we built enough width that we've been able to hit higher ranks with lower volume. We have some people above us that make even more than we do, and they have an extreme amount of volume. We just happen to have a balanced in different legs. So we build to 5, which means we talk to 150 to show 50, to enroll 15, to have 5 that actually build. And the last thing is, if we want 10, like we've been talking about, talk to 300. This is where people are like, oh my gosh, here we go. To show 100, to enroll 30, to find 10 builders. If that scares you, that's okay. But look at the 300 guys. That's not even one person a month, a day for a year, right? That's doing it every single day and taking 2 months off this year. Are you willing to do that, to show 100, to enroll 30, and to find 10 that are going to go work with you? This should be a pretty good standard. If you're showing 1,000, right, or talking to 1,000 to show 50, then there might be a gap in that area. If you're showing 100 and only enrolling 2, then maybe it's your presentation we can help you with. If you're enrolling 30 and only finding 1 runner, then we need to help you do better at helping the people you enroll, right? So take this standard and see where the issue is. Am I not even getting to talk to people? Because there's ways we can help you find people to talk to. Am I not showing enough after I talk to them? Maybe that's the gap. And then we can find the issue and narrow it down a little bit. So hopefully that helps. I know that's a long answer to that question, but this is how you find the problem, right? I'm enrolling 100, but no builders. Well, let's help you do better when you enroll them, right? Let's bring them in. Or how did you enroll them? Or who are they? Are they friends? Are they just some connection or number on the internet, right? What can we do to bring them into a friendship and bring them into that? Or maybe you're showing, 99 and you're enrolling 98. I mean, then you need to be teaching that section on our next presentation, and we'll teach something else, right? You may have had better goals than this, or better results. But if you have these results, you're average. Okay, you're right there. Don't be disappointed. You're doing well. So hopefully that helps.
Fantastic. Oh, I love that. Blue, with social media now, obviously a lot of people use social media, and they may just message strangers, really people they haven't built a relationship with. They may message 10 people a day and not really get anywhere. So guys, when you look at those 300, those really are people you've got some relationship with. Isn't that right, Blue? It's not just cold calling.
No, this would be someone somewhere in your circle of influence to get kind of those numbers, and that's kind of why I'm saying that. If you're using a method where you're talking to thousands and only getting 100, the method you're using isn't fitting the standard. So maybe that method could be tweaked a little bit or fine-tuned, or maybe there's some relationships that can be built first so that the talking to is more effective. So anyways, those are good points, Charlotte. Is don't look at this and say, oh, I'm doing bad. Just know where you need to improve, right? It helps you to figure that out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I am so excited now. We're at the dam. We've gone away for the weekend. We're at Somerset Dam. But, I've got my laptop and all my stuff, and like the people outside are about to get on boats and go fishing. And I wanted to say, off you go. I just want to stay here and keep working. I'm so excited. So, Blue, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, we so appreciate you, appreciate your time, just everything about you makes me want to be a better person. And I'm sure everybody on here feels the same. So from all of Australia, a big, big heartfelt thank you to you. We so love you and appreciate you, Blue. And please give our love and well wishes to your family, and know that you're always at the top of our minds. We're thinking about you and sending blessings to you. So thank you so much, guys, for being on here as well. I know you'll be inspired. I know you've learned heaps. And guys, don't stop here with this information. Take it down to your teams, right? Take it down to, even if you got one person working with you and they're not on this call, make sure you share this information with them. That's why taking notes is so critical, guys, so that you could never ever possibly remember everything Blue said. You need to make sure you take notes. But this has been recorded. I'll put it up soon. So thank you, Blue. Have an awesome weekend. And thank you, everyone in Australia, for joining us. We're very grateful to have each one of you. See you guys. Thanks, Blue. Mwah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. See ya.